Bob Tagano, today I'd like to talk about communication between the coach and athlete, which is an absolutely key coaching skill. Now, the things that I'm going to talk about in this video, some of them are going to be immediately applicable. Others you're probably not going to need until you get further down the pathway of development for both the athlete and yourself as a coach. But I think you can begin to figure out how all of that's going to work together as we go on this pathway. But hopefully, you can take these suggestions and make use of them to help you become a better coach. All right, now the scenario is how it's going to affect your coaching and your athletes' performances. Now, if you are, if you are an athlete and you're training at home, you might think that you can get to be the best weightlifter that you can be because you've got the equipment that you're going to be able to do it. And for some of you coaches that are coaching in distance, you really can't afford to be spending all of the time that you need to if you're going to develop an athlete into the best weightlifter they can be, nor are you going to be able to become the best coach that you can be if you're doing it in a distant situation. So you may be doing that now, but as we move along, you may find that you're going to have to actually do in-person coaching if your athlete is to be the best they can be and if you're going to become the best coach that you can be. All right. So conversation is a coaching tool, and conversing with athletes is part of your coaching education. So you are in a process of growth as you go into your coaching career. The more you talk with your athletes and get the feedback from them about how the training is working, what needs to be changed in the programming, how they feel, what they're doing with their lives outside of the gym. All of that is going to contribute to developing you as a coach. And speaking to athletes in the proper way is going to reinforce your role in their minds as a leader and an authority. And conversation with your athletes is one of your tools for developing team culture. And that's absolutely important. So we're primarily concerned here with a situation in which you're working with your athletes on a daily basis and you can see what they're doing and you know what they're like. So it's very, very important. Okay, so the first question, if somebody's coming to you for the first time in your gym, you want to ask them, do you know how to snatch and clean and jerk? Some people may not know what those lifts are. They just saw weightlifting and they want to get into it. They really don't understand. Now, some of them may know how to snatch or they may know how to clean. Very rarely are you going to find somebody that jerks but doesn't know how to do any snatching or cleaning. Some people can power snatch. They don't know how to clean. Some people power clean. They don't know how to snatch. Some people know how to power jerk. They don't know how to split jerk. There are various combinations that you're going to encounter. So you need to find out at what level they're beginning at, and that's going to determine how you do their early programming. Second question, where have you been training? If they have been training, was it in a dedicated weightlifting gym? Now, if you're in a lot of places, you know where all the weightlifting gyms are in your area. They're probably not a huge number, so you probably know how good they are because you run into the lifters from those gyms at competitions, and you get to watch their coaches work at that point. Now, some of them have been training in a school situation, either at a university, a high school, or a middle school, and the quality of the training that they've had can be extremely varied. So you may need to dig into that. You don't have to do it right away, but eventually you'll begin to find out. And then sometimes you'll run into an athlete, you'll find out that he trained at such and such a school and he's pretty good. So the next athlete that you get from that same school, you can kind of expect them to be functioning at the same level or similar level. If they've been training at a fitness gym, Some fitness gyms have some pretty good coaches, but again, the quality of their training can be extremely varied. If they've been training at a home gym, again, it could be extremely varied depending on the natural talent of the athlete. Some people are going to come to you and they've never been training, and that means that you're going to have to start out with real basics. But and depending on the individual, some of them will pick it up quickly, some of them not so quickly. And then who has been coaching you, if anybody? If they've had a weightlifting coach, if the answer is yes, who has been coaching you? If they're local, you're kind of familiar with how good the coaches are. If you are getting somebody that you're working with that's coming from out of state, you may know the coach, you may not. So that will give you a hint as to how you're going to be coaching this athlete. If they've had a strength and conditioning coach, they may know some basics of snatching and clean and jerking. But again, that's going to let you know where they are and what you need to work on. A fitness coach, again, a lot of a lot of variety in what their background could be. If it's been a parent, and that may be the tougher one, if you've had an athlete coming to you and their parent has been coaching them, sometimes you've got a real job getting them to break away from the parent. You actually need to start selling the parent on your training because a lot of times they don't necessarily want to give up the control. If you can work together with the parent, that's great. If the parent is obstinate, I could probably write a whole book on that one. If they've had no coaching at all, that's not bad actually, because that means you can start to mold them the way you want to. Then ask the athlete, what is your sport background? If they've been in an individual sport, that means they've got a certain mindset that's going to be helpful for them in weightlifting. If they've been in a team sport, they've got a slightly different mindset, uh, but they have a better idea of how to function within a group setting. If they've been in a vehicular sport like cycling or uh, auto racing, uh, that means that their development is balanced for those activities, and you're going to have to re-engineer their nervous system and muscular system for weightlifting. And if they've been in an aerobic sport like marathon or triathlon or uh, long distance swimming, you're going to have to re-engineer their energy delivery systems. So keep that in mind also, and also their nervous systems. Okay. This is an interesting question. You don't have to bring it up right at the beginning when you meet somebody, but have you been a lifestyler? That means have you been involved in an activity where your daily decisions are based on how they affect the activity that you're interested in? If you get a yes, then you don't have to explain it. If you get a no, you're going to have to do some explaining. And a lot of that is going to be done by the team culture in your gym. If you get a maybe, that means they probably don't understand what being a lifestyler means. And a lot of folks that we run into now really don't know what being a lifestyler means because it's not a popular concept. But if you're going to be very, very good at any activity, you have to be a lifestyler. And it's easier to do if you're within a group that has that culture of proper lifestyle. And that's why you end up with things like art colonies, where everybody there is dedicated to being creative and they modify their life so that they can spend time being creative. So lifestyle is very, very important eventually. Doesn't have to be right away, but eventually athletes are going to get to that. And by the way, lifestyle also means that whoever you've had in your circle of friends is probably going to change. And most of the athletes that I've worked with, they find out after a couple of years of training that they no longer have the same friends. All of their friends are athletes and understand lifestyle. Uh, were either or both of your parents athletes? That's another question that you can ask. It can be helpful. If yes, uh, that's less for you as a coach to be concerned with because the parents are going to reinforce an athlete's lifestyle, and it's not a foreign concept to them. If they haven't been athletes, then you're going to be swimming upstream on a number of issues. So if it's a no, you've got work to do. But again, the culture in the gym is going to make it a lot easier for you. Have you competed in weightlifting? Now, some of the people that come to you have tried it. You need to find out how often they've competed, how many meets they've competed in, at what level. Is it state? Is it local? Is it national? And as you get to be a better and better coach, you're going to get people coming to you that they feel like they've reached the most that they can get with the coach they've got, and now they want to take a step up. So that's something to consider too. If they say no, they may not be interested in competing right away. So it may take a gradual process. And again, if you've got a team culture where everybody competes, then they're going to want to buy into that as well. And this last question here, do you have any experience performing in front of an audience? The ability to perform on demand, if you've mastered it in some sort of performance medium, it's going to carry over to your weightlifting. And if you like performing in front of people on demand and you like the attention and you like the pressure that it puts on you and you thrive on that, then you're going to have a better weightlifting career, or you're going to get started on your weightlifting career a lot sooner. The highest level of communication. Some of your athletes may be in middle school, or they may be in high school, or they may be uh, postgraduate students. That's going to determine the level of communication. You can't talk to all those people the same way. You need to make some modification. And for those athletes that have been to university, their major can also determine how you communicate with them. So, what you do with that communication is you let them know that you're more or less on the same page with them, and they're in that way they're more likely to buy into what you have to tell them. And then finally, employment. If they're old enough to have a job, if they have a job that's got a lot of physical demands, asking them to find another form of employment, because lifting weights and doing a physically demanding job is very, very difficult, and it's not going to carry on very well for very long. Also, certain jobs can have certain time constraints that are going to inhibit them from training enough. So you need to find out about those and take those into consideration as well. So finally, your communication skills are going to determine how effectively you can coach. And as the training becomes more demanding and athletes find that it's more difficult and more challenging, your ability to communicate with them is going to keep them enthused and involved and willing to take on the demands of more concentrated training. Ideally, your programming, your communication, your coaching skills are going to determine the degree of buy-in from your athletes. And if you become skillful at communicating and developing enthusiasm and the morale in your gym, the better your coaching is going to be. So I hope this video is helpful for you. It's not the information that I'm giving you is not necessarily just for weightlifting coaches. It can be for coaches in any sport. And we really don't have programs in this country that talk about coaching methodology, talk about bedside manner in coaching. But it is a skill, and the very best coaches have developed this capacity to communicate with their athletes in such a way that they have uh, true veracity in what they're saying, they have true authority, and they're able to maintain a level of enthusiasm. So those are things that you, if you are a beginning or even an intermediate coach, those are things that you need to think about developing as you move along on your coaching development pathway. So Good luck to you. I hope that you can take this information and that it will be helpful. All right. So until the next video, uh, good luck with your coaching.